So
I'm not going to even ask you who you asked, but I would have been like, well, what's the difference in today and then at another practice? This is practice. Well, I guess because that was a scrimmage.
it's because there were so many people there and they could tweet about it. So just people could just come to the
random
scrimmage.
people,
Yeah,
fans.
just any fan could come and tweet. So if they can all tweet, then, the 25 people, 30 media members, then they should be able to not be the only people who couldn't tweet about it while it was happening.
Okay. All right. I like to be first to the punch, man. So I want as soon as I saw somebody practice, boom, boom, mine's out first. I got you. I was the first one to tweet it. Gotta give me my disclaimer. I did it first. They all get all upset at who did what. Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's
exhausting.
It's exhausting.
I can't even tweet during a game. I can't even do it. Like, I'm like, well, everybody else is going to see what I saw. I'm just probably going to say it a little bit different, but nah, that's cool. I'll just not tweet during a game. I'll just watch the game. I can't. My fingers aren't that fast. When some of them are going different directions too, so that sometimes it didn't hit the right key.
The amazing ones are the people who can stand at a press conference while Mike Vrabel or Ryan Tannehill or somebody is talking, and they can hear every word they say while they tweet out sound bites of what they're saying.
Yeah,
I can't do that for anything. I just have to sit there and make notes and then tweet out the notes afterwards.
Okay. So we got some callers?
Yeah, let's get Curtis in Nashville wants to talk Titans Bills. What's going on, Curtis?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank
the couple of things that came to my mind when you last segment, you guys were talking about, the Bills haven't really had to blitz yet that much this year. The Titans have been getting blitzed like crazy on third down. They can't seem to stop it. So I wonder if the Bills are going to change that game plan. And then the second thing I wanted to hear y'all's opinion about too is if for whatever reason the Titans don't win the game, what would be an uptrend though to walk away from this game of money? Like, okay, cool, we're in a much better position. I guess what would make y'all feel comfortable if we don't win? So what's a good losing effort that would make you guys think like, okay, the Titans are going the way that they should? I'll hang up and I'll listen. Thanks, guys.
Man, that's deep.
I like that. Well, yeah, he was right. A lot of people have blitzed the Titans. On the other side of that, I don't recall the Titans blitzing a lot on defense. Not like in the past. I think Pease was definitely a little more creative a couple years ago. So I think a comfortable loss is when you say, okay, our offense and our defense and special teams all played pretty solid. And they just were the better team, and they beat us. And, it's not a blowout, but you maybe get beat by 10. I don't know. I just want them to look like they can compete for sure if you lose with the elite AFC team right now. They have to be the number one AFC team now at this point in time. So, yeah, they're the team to beat. So, if you beat them, then you got to say, hey, we can play with the big boys. Everybody always question, we play good against those teams, and then we play – kind of average versus the mediocre to poorest team. So based off of record. So hopefully they'll play their best. And if that's not good enough, that's all you can ask out of yourself.
There's this whole thing where people talk about moral victories. And I'll say this, I don't believe in moral victories. I never have. But I do believe this. I think you can learn a lot in a loss. I don't think you're ever happy that you lost. I don't think it's ever a good thing that you lost. But I do think things can happen and teams can get much better after a loss. I mean, I'm sure you never left a game and thought, well, that was a good loss. I sure learned a lot. That's a nice moral victory. I'm sure when you lost, you're mad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was I didn't care anything about that. Moral victory didn't even cross my mind.
See, me neither.
No, in NFL, it doesn't work. There is no moral victory anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, you can say, hey, we can build on something, and then that'll be behind the scenes in the coaches' meetings and stuff of that nature. Nobody will ever say that publicly. Yeah, you're in this business. You either win or you lose. Like I couldn't stand like a tie. That would just what the game should keep going until it's not a tie. Sorry, yeah, I don't want a tie. No. So you either won or you lost. That's it.
You made a point, and I reference because I'm lucky enough I get to do pre and post game with Blaine and with Kevin Dyson. So I sit here with two NFL players and I get to learn a lot of stuff. you guys have brought this up before about building a team to win the division. Like, look at the teams in your division that you're going to have to play twice and build a team to beat them. And you brought this up today, and you've mentioned this at least one other time about the Bills within the last few days, because I remember you saying it, and I made like a note on my notes. The Bills then said, okay, we are built to win our division. Now what do we need to do to finish the job? Okay, we're going to have to beat the Chiefs, because we've all said that. Well, the Titans going to have to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah,
so the Bills went out and drafted a bunch of defensive dogs.
Yeah, up front.
To get after Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, they got an 8-man rotation.
Yes.
That is pretty remarkable. And they all probably play 30, 40%, probably a little bit more, some a little bit less. But, yeah, and they get after the passer, and they just rush their front four. Pretty much. I haven't seen them blitz. I'm not watching them game to game or play to play. But what I've watched so far, I haven't seen any blitzing at all. And it's funny, Leslie Frazier, who was my DB coach with the Eagles, was part of the late, great Jim Johnson, who was blitzing all over the place.
Right.
I mean, we did some unorthodox type blitzing I have never done before. And I'm in my last year, and I'm like, whoa, this is weird. Man, does he know that such and such uncovered? He'd be like, oh, they're not going to throw that guy. And they would not throw to that guy. I'm like, what? Or we'll do where we only have 2 men as underneath players. You're supposed to have like 3.
Right.
Well, never seemed to find a way to expose it because they would get after quarterback. Quarterback was getting skittish. I was like, man, we would roll coverages to Plaxico Burress, who was really an elite receiver, underrated, really good. And they couldn't figure it out.
Was he some kind of film wizard, or was he a matchup wizard, or some
He's a
kind of
matchup
mix?
wizard,
Okay.
I would say.
Okay.
But he was a little bit of everything. Yeah, I learned a lot, though. And we're talking about a year 10. Like, do's and don'ts that I thought I knew. There was definitely some do's that I thought were don'ts. Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah, he did them. So, but, to your point, though, how do you build to beat the better teams or the elite teams in your division, or in the AFC?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's why they went out and spent the money on Dupree and Autry. They already had Simmons.
Yeah.
And then you got Landry. So they feel like, okay, we got a front 5. We can get after it. We can rotate some guys, give them some rest. We're not too far. So I think that's what pressured them into that move, because typically when someone tears their ACL in December, that person is usually on a 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. I'd love to go back and look at history of the National Football League of anybody who signed a huge contract after tearing their ACL in December. That's why I said I would do a 1-year deal. I would give him a big chunk of money, but it would have been 1-year deal, maybe, $10 million and another $5 million incentives, playing time, and, it shows if he's durable, if he's back into the flow, because you got to know that he was going to come back and it was going to be a slow process. It's impossible. He's not going to defy all these odds that everybody else has done. And I don't care if he was a freak of nature. There's a lot of freak of natures out there.
Right.
Some of them, they come back and they never the same guy, or they get close to it, but they're still not quite there. Some guys come back and they're better because they started like rehabbing both knees, because it made it stronger, because you start leaning on that other knee, and then you say, well, we want to build both legs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that one there. So it's going to buy him some time. I thought that, Landry's bought him some time.
He has.
So this is exciting, though. This is a big one here. You take the Bills down, you're going to shut up a lot of people.
Sure.
All the negativity that comes with, the National Football League and critiquing every play and every move by a coach, or who dressed, who doesn't. So we shall see. Speaking of that, Ty Sambrello is no longer on the team. So your man, Dylan Radins, who you're fascinated with.
I'm fascinated. Every
with his
road
skills,
leads to Dylan
with his
Radins.
skills? Or with
of
him
it.
not playing?
All of it. The skills, or what's going on with his skills. Yeah, yesterday the offensive line coach got asked about him, and he said, yeah, man, I feel like his time's about to come. Well, yeah, Ty Sambrello had retired. Sambrello, he retired. So, yeah, that was what we didn't know, because we said, what does he know? I mean, why would he just – because that's a weird way to say it.
Yeah. Well, is that in a backup role, though? So you still don't know if he's going to start.
He said he would – I'm going to hold up quotes – get an opportunity here shortly.
Oh, that sounds like he's starting. Who's he start? I
mean, Roger Saffold's been banged up. He's a guard. He's been banged up.
I know, but we got an extra day, man. We just got You got to hold your horses. Hey, I'm just reading the tea leaves. Hey, there's a reason why he wasn't out there. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Not all coaches get it right, but most likely I'm assuming that they got it right. So there's a reason why he wasn't out there, or he wasn't developed quite where they wanted him to get out there. Now, they threw Davis out there before I thought they should, and he wasn't ready. He was getting 20% rating by PFF.
He got better.
He's gotten better.
Yeah,
he's got reps. He got live reps, and there's nothing that could duplicate that. So I don't know if you want that on Monday night for Tannehill's sake, but
get Julio back. Hey, man, I'm going to throw it to you in 1 second. I'm going to say hut, and the ball's going to hit my hands. It's going to go to your hands.
No. Do not do that, Teddy. You go through your progression reads, and if your progression read is Julio number 2, just go to him number 1.
Right.
But, yeah, that's it. You find a way to get him the ball, to your point. So don't force it, but just try to make sure we get it in our playmakers' hands. And, the same thing with A.J. Brown. So
let's go back to Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Laura from Brentwood is on here. I think she agrees with you about something that she hates. What you got, Laura?
Hey, Blaine.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? I agree with you about the tying thing. They should just play till they win. I do agree with that.
Yes.
And I just wanted to tell you that I met you. My son played football with your son at Brentwood High, and I hope he's doing good. And go Titans.
Yeah,
How about that?
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, and some players would probably, and coaches may disagree because leading to the other game, it could take a whole nother quarter to finish the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'd be like, well, dang, that led it to, you only have so many reps in you. It's like they always say you only got so many hits in you, or you got, your tires getting low if you're a running back.
Mm-hmm.
You only got so much tread on those tires. Eventually, it's going to wear thin. So they're saying that's eating into other games and then your career.
Sure. Which is funny because I don't care about it in any other regard.
Yeah.
I could care less.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And guess what I just said as a player? I don't care either. I want to
win.
I want to win. I don't want to walk away and go, oh, man, I gave this great effort, and we tied. Whew, we lucky to get that tie. No, I'd rather win or loss. No.
Did you ever tie as an Oiler?
No. Or I did play for the Titans.
Well, I know, but we're talking about the Titans have never tied, right? Never tied a game since they came to national.
They gave it the best
How
they
about
had
this,
a couple
Apples?
weeks
I've been
ago.
playing a long time. I never tied ever at playing any football, ever.
Well, at the other levels, the college games in overtime are some of the most fun.
Oh, I love
college
that.
football overtime.
Because they get on a 25? Or what are they?
It's the 20. Is it the 25 or the 20?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man.
Is it?
And the way kickers are now, you don't get much yardage. Hey, dude, good luck. Hey, send him out there. Good luck. See if you can kick one from here. College football overtime, I think the most intense thing, okay, the Major League Baseball wild card game, I think, is the most bananas thing ever.
Oh, yeah, that is intense.
Those things are so intense.
The crowds, too.
The Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, when it gets to that, is just the most electric thing, too. And I'm sure, Lucas, you could give soccer World Cup type examples.
Penalty kicks.
Penalty kicks.
Oh,
Thank
penalty
you.
kicks, yeah.
Penalty kicks in a huge game are just the most nerve-wracking thing ever. College overtime is not that it's that nerve-wracking. It's just entertaining. It's all get out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the most fun thing. It's just so much fun to watch. But somebody in the league that does not care about the health of its players, please, they're playing 17 regular season games. So
and that number will get to 18, then 20 in my mind.
And I believe you.
Yeah.
You're flying people to London to play football in soccer stadiums. And now Dusseldorf, I think, is next. They're saying they're going to send them to Germany, Lucas.
Yeah, Germany, man.
And when this new deal got signed 17 games, remember I dug up some article that said they're exploring more international options because they got another game that they can play with because then you got an odd game. So it's like, well, we're not taking a game from you, Blaine. We're not taking a game from you, Mickey. We're sending this sucker to Frankfurt and not Kentucky.
They're supposed to be in Mexico last season, right? And then that got nixed.
Ooh, I played in Mexico.
And the Azteca?
Yes.
Nice.
You played there more than once, didn't you?
Yeah, I
those
played there
Oiler
twice.
Cowboy preseason games.
I was
right?
in that stadium to play in.
Yeah, sure
I
did.
think it's huge.
I used to have a backpack with the that I got there.
How was that field?
Horrible.
I knew it.
Horrible.
I
don't even know that's a word. I mean, man, I was like, hey, man, I'm going to have to put in some long spikes because I'm tired of slipping and sliding. I mean, they had Emmett, Troy, Irvin, Alvin Harper, Novacek.
Right. And you're just throwing in Harper and Novacek like, well, there's all those Hall of Famers. Oh, by the way, also Alvin Harper. Oh, by the way, also Jay Novacek.
Those Oilers Cowboys.
Yeah, that was early in my career. That was some
That
really
was
good dudes. They're pretty good.
That was the
Like
thing that happened every year in the
Johnston.
preseason.
Better
The
watch
Oilers
him
and the
coming.
Cowboys would play.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, hey, man, can we just play this down the road to San Antonio? We don't have to go that far to get beat. And we used to actually do pretty good against them, though.
Oh,
Even in the regular season, I'm talking about
Yeah.
just a win-loss record. And that was when they were the king of the hill. They were winning our Super Bowls.
Those were fun games, too. Oilers and Cowboys. I mean, those were fun games.
Yeah. So now that I would say it's probably like Titans, Texans, that kind of deal.
If Amy Adams Strunk doesn't concoct these Oiler uniforms and wear them on the road in Texas for the first time against the Houston Texans.
Oh, that's why you had on your baby blue today?
Yes. I'm always ready for Columbia Blue. Hey,
You
man.
knew you were going to talk about this today, didn't you?
Oh, I mean, I'm always ready to talk about the Oiler uniforms. You know that. You wore them. I just like to talk about them. Which, by the way, this is a weird quirk. Kevin Dyson was an Oiler for a year, and we're doing the pregame show one day, and I'm just blabbing, and Dyson wore that blue, and Dyson wore. So we get to the end of the segment, we go commercial. Dyson's like, hey, man, I never wore the blue. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I didn't want to say that on the air, but I never wore it. I said,
It was always
what?
all white.
He said,
The Tennessee Oiler, right?
He said, my rookie year, we wore white at home at Vanderbilt. And then we go on the road, and everybody wore their colored jerseys. He said, I never wore a blue jersey. Never wore it. For a whole year, I did not remember that quirk about you guys wearing all white that year.
And this is the reason why I don't like the all-white jersey, even though they look decent. Is because I felt like we were soft.
In all white.
All white. I was like, we wore them every week.
Every week.
Every week.
Did
I
you
was
wear the
like-
blue pants at least, or was it all white?
I never recall wearing at practice.
Okay, because y'all had blue pants in
Yeah, they did.
Houston.
Yeah, we had blue pants here, but I never remember wearing no. Nope.
All right, Houston and Columbia, two town names. Houston is the person, Columbia is the place. Wants to talk Vols, Ole Miss. Houston Hold will come to you straight out of this break. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone.
Yeah, that's what.
Jason Martin and 11-year NFL vet Ramon Foster.
I've had younger guys who like, big homie, I don't feel like this doesn't feel right. You know what I would tell them? Don't. If you go out there and you get shot up and you get hit, not only do you have broken ribs, you got something to puncture your lung. This type of stuff happens all the time in the game. Now that we know more, it's a little bit inexcusable.
J-Mart and Ramon. Tomorrow starting at 6 on 104.5 The Zone.
of Abductus Longus.
Absolutely.
He's our show orthopedist. Also,
definitely that. I'm a doctor in my mind.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I've referenced Dice like 6 times. We're doing a post-game show, and he's like, well, look, I'm not a doctor. And we're like, actually, you are.
Yeah.
He's the doctor. He's like, well, different kind of doctor. We were trying to figure out some injury stuff. Injury stuff. This is more good news. We started the show with good news. Here's more good news. Amani Hooker is in that window now to return.
Oh,
he can practice.
Swish.
So that's a big deal. Amani Hooker has a chance to come back. Ty Sambrailo retired yesterday.
Whoa. I thought he was retired. Like he's retired. It had nothing to do with an injury.
No, he's been beat up, but he's reserved.
I thought
retired.
He had a foot injury or something.
He did. He had some kind of injury, but he's like, hey man, just keep it.
But somebody hit him in the head too long. All you had to do is say my foot's still messed up, and then you could have kept getting them checks.
The checks never stop as long as you're on the team. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they stopped. Really? Yeah. There's going to be some checks on this team that stop after this season. I mean, we could spend 6 shows talking about that. Yeah. There's plenty of content there. Yeah. And it's some of y'all, it's just some of you people you really like, your favorite players. There's going to be some of them cats that's not going to be back next year unless some things change real quick. But Brett Kern has COVID, apparently. He's on the COVID list, which if you're on the COVID list, it doesn't mean you have COVID. So maybe he doesn't. It could be quarantine. But Brett Kern is on the COVID list.
And he's got a shot, so he could be back.
Hopefully soon, yes.
Yeah.
So Brett Kern, who everybody was waiting to come back and punt, and the other guy's done okay. Johnny Townsend, that sounds like such an awesome game show host name.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like Brett Kern as a punter name because he's a great punter. And then they re-signed Avery Williamson.
Fan favorite. I liked Avery. He's a good dude.
He's a great dude.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody tweeted, this will be good because he knows the system. He never played for Mike Vrabel. He left before Mike Vrabel got here. So, I mean.
Yeah, when he left and Vrabel got hired.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's definitely he's more of a run fit linebacker, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely is a key read type guy. I don't think you'll be seeing anything like Rashaan Evans was doing. I'm just calling that out right there. He definitely not doing that. That's not how his game is built.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm talking about Rashaan Evans' game is kind of built on his athleticism, his whole career really, and not necessarily always being on point on keys and reads and pass, covering and everything else. So you better be great at something. You have to find your niche.
Yeah.
And that was his niche.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're seeing some chinks in the armor on his niche. And he was working on even pass coverage because I thought he had gotten better at those things. And I don't know if that just happened on those 2 plays or really one play that everybody put out there. And that's really a shame that we're talking about one play. I don't know if it happened multiple times. I'm not keying in and watching Rashaan Evans, but man, to get hit over the head for one play is really ridiculous. I mean, every time I got toasted, I would have got hit over the head for getting toasted.
Yeah.
Hey, you make mistakes in a game sometime. I'm sure that would happen every single play, let alone they were getting run through. And it takes everybody on the defense not to do their job for the way Robinson was running against them too, by the way.
Yeah.
That was just poor defense and people being irresponsible, not doing their jobs in their gaps. I mean, he's running through holes.
Right.
Yeah, so, that's on the player. So.
Somebody's in the wrong place.
Yeah. So.
Let's get got about a minute left.
Sambrailo's retiring. That's kind of interesting. That was kind of weird to me. Like, I've never seen somebody do that in the middle of a season. Why don't you just wait till the season's over?
Right.
So, like, is something else going on here that we don't know outside? I mean, that's not really dealing with him, per se, that he's pissed off about. I have no idea.
Dude's gone.
I mean, dang, you're injured.
Yeah.
You could have let him put you on injured reserve.
Sure. I mean, 3 more weeks of whatever you make per week, yeah?
Maybe he's just tired of all the injuries.
Well, could be. And that happens to guys. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of rehabbing. I'm tired of the grind. You talked about rehab and how hard that was yesterday. Let's get, we got about a minute. Let's get Houston and Columbia, who was kind enough to hold. Thank you, Houston. What's going on?
Hey, guys. I was just wondering, how should we feel about the Vols Saturday? I know Tennessee's put up 45-plus points in the past 2 games, but Tennessee in the past has not handled Hop well. I've been to every Checker, Neyland game. And Tennessee's always faltered in them. Their 1-3 record speaks for that. Their only win was a 21-point deficit to Florida. They came back in. I think it's a good measuring stick for Heupel. He's had them playing great the last couple of weeks. Now he comes in a night game in Neyland, step up in competition. I think it'll be a good game that we can learn a lot about this team and Heupel as a coach. I just want to see y'all's opinion, and I'll be in Knoxville Saturday. Let's go Vols.
Have a good time, man. That'll be fun.
Oh, it's at night too.
That's going to be awesome.
It's going to be, this is an old term now, lit at night. Oh, that's awesome. No, I think they're going to win this game. And the reason why I say that is because I think their defense, and everybody's going to be talking about the offenses,
Right.
which are prolific on both sides of the ball. But I think the Vols defense is much better. I think Ole Miss's defense is ranked like 100 and something, 102. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The Vols defense is way better, and actually they're been playing better than people could have expected. They still need a legitimate, consistent pass rush or rushers besides the two that they really have. But, hey, yeah, I think their defense is far and better than Ole Miss. So I'm going to give them in, and they're playing at home. I just want them to not get too hyped up. This is what happens to kids on a night game like this, because it seemed like that's what was going on early too. That's why they were making mistakes, and now they're not. They figured it out.
Right.
It's a night game. It's gonna be crunk out there. It's, don't make mistakes early in the game. But other than that, I think this is an easy one for me. I think the Vols win.
I don't know if they win or not, but I'll look at this from and Lucas is going to start telling us we got to take a commercial break. I would look at this from an administrative standpoint. I hired a coach. We had to let a coach go. That's its own set of messes. I know we're not going to go from, whatever Pruitt won. What was it? What did he win in his last year? 3. I know we're not going to go from 3 to 10, probably not going to go from 3 to 8, but I do know this. They're winning the games that they're supposed to win. They're winning them convincingly. Mm-hmm. Like they beat Missouri convincingly. Then they beat South Carolina convincingly. And here we are, and we've sold out the stadium, which hasn't been – that's not – so if everything is a step, that's the next step. He has the fan base excited enough to fill up the stadium again. And I'm like –
I think you could have predicted all those things were going to happen just because of his offense.
Yep.
They were going to score, so it's going to be fun to watch how many of them can you get some wins. And then the defense is playing better. So I think this is a game – I don't even know if this game is a measuring stick for me. I think this is a game that they should win if Ole Miss's defense is not very good.
Now look at Arkansas. They're still running on them. Yeah. And the way they run the ball, Hooker can run it.
And then imagine this. Both of them do up-tempo, but I don't know if anybody runs the up-tempo like Heupel and those guys do, man.
And like you said, it's nothing the Vols defense hasn't seen because they got to chase their own offense every day in practice. I like the matchup. I like it a lot. I feel good about Tennessee this weekend. It's the third week in a row that I felt good about them. It's a great question by Houston. Hour number 2 coming up. Jordan Dajani to talk NFL in a little over 20 minutes. Headlines next, including a Titan that you love is back.
The weekend starts with Thursday Night Football when the Eagles host the Super Bowl champion Bucks. Coverage starts tomorrow night at 7 on your home for Thursday Night Football. 104.5 The Zone.
Let's talk about this
Oh yeah, he still got some tread out there. Yeah. He has the only thing left for him now is to just get him a ring.
Boy, it'd be fun.
He proved himself in the league, became a starter, did really well, got paid, went to another team, and then he got injured, and then now he's working his way back into the lineup. And this is a place where, with all the injuries at linebacker, he may get an opportunity. One more guy go down, he may be out there sooner than later. I think they're bringing him in, as a backup, at least at this point. What do you think there, Lucas? What did Vrabel say?
Talked about what he brings. They didn't overlap, right? Williamson.
Oh, I set it up. I thought you were going to play the video.
I thought you were teeing me up.
Oh.
You can do both. We can hear from both of you.
Well, then don't talk in our ear and tell us you got to, and then you don't play the video.
I apologize for doing my job.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just provide depth. Provide depth at that position. Avery's played a lot of football, winning football. So, we'll kind of see where that is. See how quickly he gets, caught up to speed.
See on tape his strengths as a player.
He's a good run defender. He's quick, diagnosis, reads, reacts. I liked him, watched him when he was here. I haven't seen a whole lot of him since then. I know he moved on in free agency about the same time I got here.
Yeah, that was it's Mike Vrabel. He moved on when I got here.
Yeah, but one thing was key there. It says read in his diagnosis. So he understands, I'm going to call it the triangle read. There's a lot more other reads involved there at middle linebacker. But that was really his strength, really beating people to the punch and really making plays in the backfield just because of his reaction on keys and reads. So, yeah, I liked him as a player, solid player, not spectacular,
right.
Still young, so still got some twitch to him. He still got some tread on the tires and banging, and, shoulders are probably fresh. He tore his ACL. That's really what got him out of the Jets. But he was playing really well. I followed him really well with the Jets. And always the knock was he was just more of a run defender than a pass cover linebacker, and that probably still true. But he definitely improved on that. And if you're bringing him in here for depth piece, yeah, why not? Somebody you're familiar with actually as a teammate and personality. And JR actually was part of him being here too. So I don't think he drafted him, but he was here when he was here at the same time.
And you said two key words there: run defense. What's this team been struggling with?
Ooh.
What they really struggle with against the Jags? Avery Williamson's probably a guy to go in there and fill some of those gaps and shore some of that up.
Yeah, well, and also you don't know how much his assistants in just the meeting rooms with the other linebackers. Let's just use Evans for some of the keys and reads, and maybe he's having some issues with what he was taught before and what he's being taught today. So you just never know where that's at. And he's got to take the onus on him. Eventually, he's on the football field, and he has to make those keys and reads and reaction. Because it's just real interesting and fascinating to me. These are kind of the untold stories. Like, why has Rashaan Evans not played up to the ability that I saw 2 years ago? Which to me, 2 years ago, he was on track to be a Pro Bowl player. It was there was no doubt, none in my mind.
And you don't throw that around.
Yeah.
You don't throw that around.
Yeah, he was making plays in the backfield on the goal line. I mean, he was, wow. He looked like, man, this guy, he takes one more step, he's going to be guy people are talking about. And all of a sudden, we can dismiss last year it was COVID. You don't know what was going on with each guy personally, and trying to fight through all of that. But it's kind of continued this season. And I'm just wondering why is that? I'm perplexed. Like, I've never seen a player kind of dip like he's dipping, with all that talent that he has. And he was improving in pass coverage too, compared to when he first got here. Not to say that that's, great, but it's still, you can get by with it.
What all if a guy doesn't have an obvious physical ailment, it's not like, well, he's got turf toe real bad or he's coming off an Achilles.
We did have a quad at this last game, this last game, though.
But
it was before that we were noticing. But man, he had a lot of tackles, but I don't recall him anything in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage.
Right. I know this position coach changed. He's got a different position coach
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and we're going back 2 years. He's had Well, now he's got Shane Bowen as a defensive coordinator, so he's been working within the same scheme in effect all this time, Mike Vrabel's defense. What could it be that could derail a guy who we all think this guy's on a rocket ship to the Pro Bowl, and then suddenly, like you said, people are talking about him now, but for other reasons?
Man,
it's a mystery, right?
Yeah, without being in the locker room and knowing him personally, because I don't know him, I have no idea. You know, you hear people talking about he never had the green dot, so then that's going to be questions on, how sharp he is as a player mentally on the football field. The change of coaches sometimes it gets a little confusing. You hesitate just a split second on your reads because you don't understand like maybe their language as much as you did before the other coach, and it's up to you to decipher that. Ultimately it goes back to him. There's nowhere else to go but him. And it's contract year. So you would think he's trying to have the best season regardless. Whoever's coaching him, if he's injured or whatever, to give his best. And right now, man, I think he's hurting his market value. I would have to say that.
And it's contract year. And as a guy who didn't get his option picked up by the team, Ja L in the Zone TV chat says Dean Pease left.
And Dean Pease left.
Sure did.
Was he coaching linebackers?
No, but he was ultimately calling the shots then.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He was.
You mentioned this a couple times.
It's really weird, though, and to not to defend either side on this with Evans or, maybe coaching, whatever it may be. Sometimes scheme and fit for certain players is up to the coaches to put you in position to make plays based off your skill set. But it's also up to you to figure out how you can fit into this defense so you can perform at a high level. So you got to block all those things out and just go ball. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can't process how he explains or don't like the way he explains it to you and it makes it, when I say that, I'm talking about that means it's confusing to you.
Right.
You just don't have the same, vibe and understanding. Well, then it's up to you to figure it out. It's up to you. You're grown.
Is this like a cornerback getting drafted out of Ball State and a bunch of guys get injured and they say, you're a box safety now? Go get it, Tiger.
Yeah, and I was like, no can do. I had to have a lot of conversations with myself that I'm gonna have to do this. Yeah. But also, then you convince yourself, oh, this is fun. Not only get to do box safety, I get to be a half-field safety. I get to be a slot corner. So I still get to do corner dudes, and I get to blitz.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is going to be fun. Mm-hmm. So, you eventually try to convince yourself this is the way that it was meant to be, and I'm going to make the most of my opportunity. And then I end up teaching myself with the coach's help on how to read line play. That's how when I talk about the triangle read, I've done it. I've actually done it. And I'm trying to beat people to punch. There's no way I was going to run through a 300-pound guy.
All right, somebody's sitting in the car, and they're saying, what's the triangle thing you're talking about?
Well, every position at the linebacker spot, you kind of got a triangle read. So if you're at middle linebacker, let's say you're in the middle of the field, and you're reading center, guard to then the backfield. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, they just give it that term, but it doesn't always equate to a triangle read. And sometimes you have to be able to see all those things at once to know where you're supposed to fit in that defense that's called. Yeah. So that's what, like, people act like we're playing Sandlot in this little leagues. Like, oh, just run to the ball. No, that's not how it's going to work here. Yeah, if you want to be good. And so, sometimes, you get confused on where you're supposed to be reading because maybe a new coach is telling you to do like this, or maybe not telling you anything you thinks you know. And then you keep going out here dropping the ball. So, yeah, that's a great question because I said triangle. And I really always want to dumb it down to that they could feel like they could see what I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, it's harder to do than what I just said because every play and based off what the offense is running and then what you have called and where you're supposed to fill in your gaps when they do these blocks. And guess what? You're practicing them in 9-on-7 every day on the defense called and where your run fits are, let alone you're walking through them too. So it comes back to the player.
Yeah. Comes back to Jordan Dajani for us, CBS NFL reporter. All the latest from the NFL next, right here on Blaine and Mickey.
Buck Rising is at every Titans game and gives it to you straight each and every week.
This is an onion. We're going to peel it back layer by layer, piece by piece.
The Buck Rising Show. Tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. And, man, I'm very excited. I can't wait for this game. I'm glad that the Tennessee's offense has, seemed to get back on the right track. They're putting up some points. They're looking better and better each week. Now they get to take on another high-profile offense led by a guy we have some history with in Lane Kiffin. So I'm extremely excited for it. I can't wait for Saturday.
All right, which one of these things makes you more nervous? We'll play which one makes you more nervous. It's a new game I just invented right now as we're talking to each other. Which one makes you more nervous? Derrick Henry's workload or how many times Ryan Tannehill has been whacked so far? Ooh.
Oh, without a doubt. It's with how many times Ryan Tannehill's been whacked. I mean, I think he's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL at 20. And I tweeted this earlier today. It's a stat probably people have been bringing up over the week. But he only was sacked, I think, 24 times last week. He's already up to 20. So looking at some of the hits he's taken, I mean, that's a huge concern for a team that not only wants to win the AFC South, but also wants to make a run in the playoffs. The quarterback's the most important position. So I'm very uncomfortable with how often Ryan Tannehill's getting hit.
Yeah, you accidentally, I do this all the time. You said 24 times last week. It just seemed that way. But yeah, 24 times last year. Our buddy Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports joins us to talk NFL on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, we can't not talk about the NFL without starting with what is your understanding of the Gruden firing? It seems like there is more to the story besides what we know. But on the surface, what were your thoughts on that whole deal with Gruden?
Yeah, let's get this out of the way first. Obviously, John Gruden made the right decision in resigning. The Raiders made the right decision in terms of moving on from John Gruden as their head coach. There was no other option at this point in time. What he said was obviously incredibly inappropriate. There's no room for that in today's NFL, especially where they're trying to make it their mission to be more accepting to everyone. But, not to downplay that headline, of course, but the circumstances surrounding this are what I find intriguing. I mean, these emails were reportedly discovered during the investigation of the Washington football team. There were two waves of leaks when it came to Gruden, and the final came after he coached on Sunday in what was his last game. What else is out there is my question. Hundreds of thousands of emails that the league now has. A lot of people were in contact with Bruce Allen, who was the former president of the Washington football team. A lot of people were in correspondence with him, so they have all those emails. And then there's another facet to this as well when it comes to the NFL at large. How did the Washington football team or investigation wrap up without any additional details coming to light, with no written report being released to the media? Why is this Gruden stuff coming out now? This story, in my mind, is not 100% done. I mean, we saw something come to light regarding Adam Schefter today. There could be more stuff coming out tomorrow, next week. I don't know. I was given a statement from Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, who were the lawyers representing 40 former employees of the Washington football team through that investigation, and they were calling upon the league to release all of the emails. And they are not the only people. The NFLPA also came out asking for the NFL to release all of these emails. And if they do, I'm sure that some stuff was said that's going to make many owners, business people, head coaches, whatever, look pretty bad. So obviously the Gruden situation right now, that's the headline. But when it comes to this entire investigation, situation, whatever you want to call it, unfortunately, I don't think we're done just yet.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. We're on with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports. Now let's talk about a little bit of on-field and watching Monday night with Lamar Jackson. Man, he looked like he's the most dangerous player, not quarterback, player in the NFL. When I looked up his stats there, Jordan, 5th in the NFL in passing yardage, but 8th in the NFL in rushing yardage. Man, what about that performance there against the Colts, who I thought the Colts looked pretty good?
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I almost tweeted around the third quarter, the Ravens just didn't show up tonight. I'm glad I didn't, because Cold Takes Exposed would have gotten me pretty bad. But, man, what a comeback to watch. Lamar Jackson should be one of the front runners in the MVP race. And I was saying this before his breakout performance on Monday night. What he's doing as a passer, he looks better than he ever has when it comes to throwing the ball down the field. And that was always the biggest knock on the kind of player that he is. And I mean, he threw for 442 yards. That's a career high for him. He only had 2 previous 300-yard games, I believe, the second of which came against the Broncos last Sunday. So, he's evolving as a passer. And because of his evolving. We're seeing a lot of his weapons put up career numbers too. I mean, Mark Andrews had a career game. We already know he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And I love Marquise Brown, by the way. Hollywood Brown, I think, has the potential to be one of the best receivers in the NFL with the kind of elite speed he has. So, yeah, when it boils down to it, man, this Ravens team, even though they faced so much adversity through the preseason when it comes to injuries, they are a legitimate contender. And like you guys mentioned, the Colts played a pretty solid game. That was definitely Carson Wentz's best game as a member of the Indianapolis Colts, but it didn't matter because Lamar Jackson willed this team to victory.
Well, you talked about Jackson being the best player or maybe MVP at this point in time, but where are you with Josh Allen, who the Titans face on Monday night in the beatdown they put on the Chiefs?
Yeah, Josh Allen is obviously a front runner for sure when it comes to MVP. A lot of people were calling for his downfall, thinking that he was due for a regression after a breakout season in 2020, but that just hasn't been the case. I mean, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs. That's an impressive box score, but I think what really stood out to me was just his command of the offense and his ability as a playmaker to move the ball down the field. That's what makes him one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in my mind. He's poised. He knows how to unleash that big arm. He knows how to make good reads on the run as well. It seems like he's just getting better. He's one of the hottest players in the NFL, leading one of the hottest teams in the league. A lot of people were looking at the Bills, thinking that, they were getting off by beating bad teams, but they showed you that they are for real. They're every bit a legitimate contender in the AFC, as the box score says they are. So, yeah, huge matchup for the Tennessee Titans in prime time. Let's hope for the best.
Man. Well, the Chiefs, are they in trouble? My man, Andy Reid, I love the guy, but, man, 2-3, did we envision 2-3 at this point?
Yeah, they're absolutely in trouble. First of all, no, I did not foresee this happening. I thought they made some good additions on the offensive line, and I thought they were going to keep rolling, but all of a sudden they're in last place in the AFC West. I mean, the defense has been the main issue in my mind. I mean, they've allowed 29-plus points in each game this season, allowed at least 400 yards in 4 out of their 5 games this year. They haven't had a takeaway in 3 straight games. The defense is legitimately one of the worst in the NFL. And I don't care if you have the best offense in the NFL. It's going to be hard to hoist the Lombardi at the end of the season when you have one of the worst defensive units in the league. So that's why there's reason to have legitimate concerns for this Chiefs franchise. But again, it is early in the season. If they can game plan differently, if they can maybe bring some pieces in, kind of get back on their feet defensively, we know that this offense has the potential to be one of the most explosive units in the NFL. So there's time for a turnaround. But right now, there's definitely a lot of reason to worry.
Well, I'm going to stay with the Bills and the Titans. And how do you see – give us a preview of what you think probably is going to happen. Let's say that.
Yeah, so predicting the game, unfortunately, I am leaning towards the Bills. There's no doubt about that. But I'll give you one kind of underrated X factor that I've been thinking about, and that's the ground game for the Bills. So they didn't necessarily have to rush the ball to be effective against the Chiefs on Sunday night, but I think that we've seen the Bills' rushing attack be a little improved compared to last year with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. We saw with James Robinson how he fared against Tennessee's run defense last week. He had a very impressive outing. You know, the Bills, they can hurt you on the ground now, or they can hurt you through the air, of course. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Bills game plan for attacking Tennessee's defense. Is this a matchup where they want to control time of possession, establish tempo, and then take their shots downfield? Or do they want to take the field under the lights in prime time and try to drop 50 on this defense's head? So I'm kind of interested to watch that. It's kind of pick your poison against this offense. So I'm also interested to see how the Titans want to game plan for this. Where are they going to bring their pressure from? How are they lining up defensively in the secondary? There's a lot of things you have to account for when it comes to lining up against this offense.
Well, with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Jordan, you know right now who is not upset at all about everything that's going on with John Gruden? Urban Meyer. Because it's like, wow, nobody's even said my name in like 2 days. This is incredible. Herb still has to deal with everything that Herb's got to deal with. What's the latest down there? And, I mean, is there anything that could get him fired this year, do you think?
So we haven't heard anything more about this story. Obviously, the NFL storyline has definitely shifted more to John Gruden. And I honestly don't think that there's been any other kind of repercussions coming from what happened to Urban Meyer's wild weekend in Ohio. But then again, there always is a possibility that he could be relieved of his duties in the middle of the regular season. That's very true. And that could be for a couple of different reasons. One would be another off-field issue. If Urban Meyer's doing stuff like that on his, days off when he has a long week, I have some questions about things that he thinks are okay and what's not okay. But the other thing would obviously be, his on-field performance. The Jaguars are on the cusp of having the longest losing streak by any franchise in NFL history. I think they need like 5 or 6 more games to reach that. So the Jaguars need to find the win column quickly in my mind. I don't know when that's going to come. They have an interesting opportunity this week in London against the Miami Dolphins. We don't know if Tua's going to be back under center. But obviously the Jaguars brass, they want to see that they have a head coach that not only has the backing of his players, but also is showing improvement in terms of his decision-making as a head coach and also game planning for your opponents week in, week out. The Jaguars got to find that win column. They want to see some of their young talent develop. We haven't really seen that just yet. I do like what I've seen out of Trevor Lawrence, but Urban Meyer will always be a storyline to keep your eye on as we progress through the season.
Did you tweet this out? The Jags haven't made a field goal this year?
Yes. Isn't that an incredible trivia question? If you're going to the bar tonight and you're playing trivia, and if there's a team that hasn't made a field goal through the first 5 weeks of the season, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think that breaks some kind of record. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. Jordan Dajani, our guest, CBS Sports NFL coverage at Jordan Dajani on Twitter.
Well, since you're talking about field goals, man, why so many extra points being missed over this last week? It was record number.
Worst in history.
Yeah, worst in history. I don't know how many was missed, but I think it got up to like 20, I think Lucas said, or some high number, man. What do you think is going on? This stuff is getting in these kickers' head.
25 total. Field goals and missed extra points combined.
Heavens to Betsy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, the Bengals and Packers, they saw 5 missed field goals and 1 missed extra point in the same game. That was absolutely – it's just wild because when the NFL moved the ball back for the extra point, here's another cold take from me. I thought it wasn't going to affect the game at all. I was like, okay, it's like a chip shot field goal. You can line up the ball where you want to try to convert on this extra point. And sure enough, it's made a huge difference. And it's weird because it's definitely making more of a difference this season. I don't know why that is. I would be interested in asking kickers, what's going on in your head. Is it if you miss one, you're in a bad state of mind moving forward? But Sunday was just absolutely incredible to watch all these kickers kind of having mental mistakes, and some of them were extremely costly as well. So that'll be a narrative to watch moving forward.
What game you looking forward to? I know that the Titans actually played the Bills, but I think the Cardinals play the Browns, right? That seems like it's going to be a good matchup. What are you looking forward to?
Yep, you took it right from me. I think that's probably the matchup of the week, in my opinion. And here's my take. I think that this is where the Cardinals suffer their first loss. They have some injuries they're dealing with. You know how the NFL goes, right? There's all these narratives, and it seems like when a team's on the rise is exactly when they fall. And they had an opportunity last week against the 49ers, but they had a rookie quarterback starting, and it was a close game. I mean, the Cardinals barely covered the spread, but I expected them to win that game. Now they have to hit the road to take on Baker Mayfield and the Browns, an offense which just put up like 42 points on the road. Baker Mayfield's left shoulder looks okay. The rushing attack is incredible. I'm looking at this game as the Cardinals' first loss in my mind. But apart from that, the Chargers and Ravens is another prime AFC matchup that a lot of people are going to be watching. Yes. Can the Ravens continue their hot streak against, again, one of the hottest teams in the NFL? Justin Herbert looks like he's putting himself into the MVP conversation as well with how he's leading this high-flying offense. His first-year head coach, Brandon Staley, looks like he's a favorite for the coach of the year. The defense has been playing pretty good as well. So that's another a battle of heavyweights, if you will, that everyone's going to be looking forward to. Another week, another great slate of games in the NFL.
Like always, the NFL just print money, as Mickey would say. I guess lastly for me, give me your top 2 AFC teams and top 2 NFC teams through 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for the AFC, NFC, I'm probably going to be leaning towards the Buffalo Bills. I think that's probably an obvious one. And then for the next one, this is tough because I think it's between two teams that are facing off this week in the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers. And you know what? I'm probably going to lean towards the Ravens just because of how they've been able to deal with adversity through the early goings of the regular season. I mean, that's kind of paramount when it comes to building a contender and trying to establish the consistency that leads you to a Super Bowl. So I'll lean towards the Ravens right now. Now, as for the NFC, I'm going to take a team from the NFC West, and it's actually not going to be the Arizona Cardinals. I'm looking at the Los Angeles Rams. They haven't played perfect football just yet, but I think that their best football is ahead of them. I like what Matthew Stafford's brought to this offense. The defense has been more inconsistent than we would have liked, but I think they will get back on track. And then the other NFC team will probably have to be the reigning Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady, who threw for 500 touchdowns against the Dolphins last week. They're sitting at 4-1. They, of course, lost to the Rams. So in terms of my two NFC teams, I'm looking at Tom Brady. I'm looking at Matthew Stafford.
Man, what's the most yards a quarterback has thrown in a season? I had to ask you this because I think Tom Brady's on pace for 6,000. I mean, did you see his numbers like that? Potentially.
No way.
I don't know how his thumb is doing this week. I don't know if he played, but yeah, he's on that pace.
I think the record's Peyton Manning. I thought it was like something like 5,477, 2013 when he was with the Broncos. That might be the record. But the way the game's going, man, these quarterbacks are slinging the rock all over the field. So Tom Brady, even though he's up there in years, he hasn't really shown it on the field just yet. If he can maintain this level of consistency, then yeah, we could see some records broken, especially with that 17th game.
No doubt about it. We're on with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Hey, before we let you go, let me read you this. NFL MVP odds. This is from one site that I saw. See if you can find anything wrong with this list. So Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, I'm reading them in order. Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. That's the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is there a name missing on there that you think should be on there possibly?
Yeah, I think he doesn't play quarterback, but I am leaning towards a guy named Derrick Henry. And I think he should have been getting MVP votes last year, and he didn't. So this is a guy who's having another incredible year. And I think what we need to point out, and this is something that people outside of Nashville probably aren't talking about, but Derrick Henry is known for finishing years on a hot streak, right? Putting up 200, 300 rushing yards in the final game of the season, not leading the NFL in rushing yards through the first few weeks of the season. So if he can maintain this kind of level of consistency and the production that he's been putting out week in, week out, then absolutely he should be an MVP favorite. But maybe you shouldn't have said that on air because in case he does make a huge run, all of us can get rich by placing money on him right now.
Yeah,
we can still do that.
I mean, you get Mahomes and Lamar plus 2,000 and plus 2,500 right now. Still no Derrick Henry. Again, that's 9 names and he's not there. That's just amazing to me. All quarterbacks. Why not just say quarterback of the year and then MVP at this point?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that the quarterback – I mean, it is a quarterback-driven league. I think everyone understands that, and it's the most important position in football. But how effective you are at other positions and how you affect the game and how you can carry an entire offense, whether you be a running back or receiver, obviously should put your name into that top consideration, at least in the top 10.
Jordan, on the way out, what you got on CBS Sports? I know you do a little gambling picks, things like that. What can people look for from you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm releasing my gambling column tomorrow, Thursday. We went another 4-1 on my top 5 picks, sitting at number 2 in the company. So going to be breaking down some games from a gambling perspective, going to be giving some advanced stats when it comes to placing your bets on those lines. Definitely a lot of gambling focus coming down the line here at CBSSports.com. Really appreciate you guys having me on today and every week.
Yes, sir. Always a good time. Thank you, Jordan.
Great stuff.
All right, when we come back, Derrick Henry has done something else that only Hall of Famers have done. And it's a nice list. Only Hall of Famers and Derrick Henry. I'll share that next. Blaine and Mickey.
The King.
The Titans play Monday, so we have you covered Sunday with an NFL triple header. First, it's the Packers and Bears, followed by the Ravens and Broncos, and then the Steelers and Seahawks on Sunday Night Football on Nashville's home for the most NFL, 104.5 The Zone.
something you see, you can't get bored of it. Now, maybe that was the wrong word because I never get bored of Derrick Henry's greatness. I mean, but here's the thing. We watch him every week. We keep asking about workload and, his offensive coordinator got asked about it. He's like, no, Downing said, no, nobody's ever said in the headset, you don't need to give it to him less. So they're not, Vrabel got asked about it. No, I mean, nobody's worried about it. Derrick Henry doesn't seem to be worried about it. He's like, no, I'll just keep giving me the ball. So this guy's getting, what is it? I think you said earlier this week, like 28 and a half times a game or something is his average carries. So he is, I wrote this down. He's 142 carries for 640 yards. That's 48 more carries. I think Alvin Kamara is actually second place in carries. That's 48 more carries than him and 117 more yards than second place through 5 weeks. Through 5 weeks. So it's like, man, this is 5 games. He's already got 600 yards. And the thing is, I guess nobody who's ever gotten 2,000 has ever even gotten to 1,500 the next year. So it's like, okay, and there's 5 games in, he's got over 600 yards, and there's 17 games, and so it's all that is mind-boggling. So
what you're saying is he still can get 2,000 yards if he keeps up this pace.
Yes. He's going to get 2,000 again unless something crazy happens.
Right.
He's on his pace to get 2,000 again. And the NFL media as a whole, I don't think they know what to do with him because I read 9 people who have MVP odds, and he wasn't one of the 9 people.
He's not even on there.
He's not even on the list of 9 people, 9 quarterbacks. Now, maybe he's number 10, but I wrote down the whole list, and there was 9 people. He's not on the list. So this comes down today. There's a website, Pro Football Reference.
Oh, yeah.
Which I love. That's because you can sort anybody's stats. You know me and stats. I just love them. I love stats, numbers. I'm a total geek for that stuff. But they also send me, I wanted more stats because I'm sick. So I signed up for this, Blaine. They email me more stats. So I don't just go to the website 6 times a day and look at stuff like Avery Williamson. I looked through all of his stats this morning because Avery's back. If you haven't been seeing that, Avery's back. It's official. He's re-signed with the Titans.
And he's going through King Henry's stats. That's what Avery's doing too.
Well, he's thinking, I'm glad I don't have to ever stop this guy again.
Yeah, I get to see his greatness in person.
And they were teammates before, but this was a different King Henry. That was the King Henry who, like, David Fluellen got some of his carries. Ain't nobody getting the King's carries anymore.
David Fluellen.
Remember that?
Yes.
And Dion Lewis. I mean, Avery left, and it's like, wait a second. So he gets all of the carries now? Yes, he gets all of them, with the exception of your man McNichols did get a series on Sunday, a whole series.
All I got to do is just put him in there a series or 2 and give King a little bit of rest, and and that's about all I do. I'd keep doing what else they did.
2 series.
And if that series go 1, 2, 3, and they punt up, that was one of them.
Hey,
sorry, Jeremy.
If it's 3rd and 5 or less, though, don't you have to keep him out there? 3rd and 5 or less. I'll give you 3rd and 9.
If that's his rest series, I'm still putting him back out together. Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they really don't care about his carries.
They don't care.
And it's his business, but he looks fine in their mind. There's nothing going on. We don't care about week 13. 13, we may not even be around here. So, no, we got to get it where we can. Just like they said, we got to save Harold Landry's reps. I laughed. I said, they don't care about his reps? What are you talking about?
And that kept getting said. And every time we would come back in here and do a show, and you'd be like, they're not counting his reps. Nobody's over there going, ding, 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 that's 30. Yeah. And then pull.
Because what happens is you have maybe the intention as a coach in the league to say, we're going to give him a rest. Then all of a sudden the game starts, and you go, oh, man, we can't take him out. He's the best we got. What we going to do?
He's tapping his helmet. They're like, no,
stay in there. Stay in. Half of you is better than what we got over here, man.
Stay out. Stay out. All right, Derrick Henry. He has stayed out for 5 games. Listen to this. I wanted more stats. They emailed me stats. If you know this website, you can sign up. They will send you more stats. And I just devoured.
You have to click on something special, like more stats?
I just said I want more. Like one day I wished in a mirror, and then I got these.
What stats do they give you more of the King? It can't be better than Robbie Board has.
Oh, no. Now, Robbie's got them all. He's the Titans PR guy. So here you go. Luke is going to start barking at us here. Okay, let's get to it. Player since 1950. That's 71 years. So
the league has only existed for 101. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
So almost 3/4 of the history of this league with 600-plus rushing yards and 6+ rushing TDs through the first 5 games of the season. Here's the whole list.
That is rushed for over 650?
600
or 600
6 touchdowns in 5 games.
Weeks. Okay.
Here's the whole list.
The whole list.
Okay.
It's a long list?
Starting in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Brown in 1958.
What was he at? Do you know his
He
number?
had 815 yards and 13 touchdowns.
What? In 5 weeks?
And that was the record for 12 games was Jim Brown. Then OJ broke it in 14 games. He got his two. So Jim Brown in 58, Jim Brown in 63.
But this is after 5 weeks.
Yes, this is only after 5 weeks.
He had 800 yards
and 13 touchdowns in 5 weeks. And somebody tweeted me and said, yeah, against a bunch of guys who were delivery men in the offseason and smoked 2 packs a day. Doesn't matter. He was in the same time period that they were.
Yeah, he might have been doing the same thing.
He may have. He quit to go to Hollywood after 9 years. He was the best player in the NFL and quit to become an actor. Think about somebody did that in a social media era. Yeah. Jim Brown, O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Emmitt Smith, Terrell Davis, Curtis Martin. So that's 8 people. Well, it's